Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as the Ronaldo and United fallout/conflict continues and we approach the first episode of the Cristiano Ronaldo interview with Piers Morgan, which will be at 8 p.m. UK time tonight. Remember, we'll be reacting to that as soon as that is over. The next two nights we will be moving the 8 o'clock show to 9 o'clock so that we can react to that live together. But lots more coming out today. Manchester United players expecting Ronaldo to never play for the game for the club again. Some updates on Ten Hag. Manchester United not happy with some of the things that have been said. Conflict, disagreement. But generally, the interviews have to come out and then United will make their stance. Also want to talk about this story about Osman and some other stories coming out from UK-based journalists who are obviously activating their sources for information. I myself, if you were on Twitter this morning, I myself had a bit of a not conflict, back and forth with the superstar interviewer of Cristiano Ronaldo, Mr. Piers Morgan. I put a tweet out last night. I didn't even tag him in it. I just said that I don't think Ronaldo realises he's being played as much as anybody else here with this drip, drip, drip effect of putting little bits out there. It's like a bad Channel 5 drama, to which Piers Morgan called me condescending, to which I replied that basically, I'm not being condescending, it's an opinion that a player that I've loved for half of my life has been reduced to this. To which he said, what, reduced to talking about his the death of his son? And I said, Piers, if you really are interpreting my opinions as that, then you truly are the gutter press. That obviously was not my point. My point wasn't about the heartbreaking clip that came out about Ronaldo and the loss of his child yesterday. I'm generally talking, like many of you are, that Cristiano Ronaldo has been reduced to a pantomime act by this interview saga, and it's shared collectively. Manchester United feel like it, journalists feel like it, fans feel like it, players feel like it. In fact, Ten Hag is reported not to be angry about the interview, just very sad. And I think there is a sadness to this interview. I think it's sad that it's come to this. I think it's sad that it's come to the point that Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest players I've ever seen, one of the players that I love more than ever, one of the players that is going to go down as one of the greatest players of all time, is still a proactive footballer for Manchester United and is sat doing a soap opera interview. That's what's sad. I think Piers and Cristiano think that they're sat there because they're trending and they're like, they're the kings of the world. Read the room. You're not the kings of the world. Listen to Talk Sport. I mean, I'm not saying Talk Sport's the be-all and end-all, but I was going to go on. Listen to the BBC, Sky, the fans. It's not universal, this is a great idea, is it? It's not. I'm sorry. It's not just my opinion. And Piers is obviously listening to people's opinions because he's replying to me and I didn't even tag him in it. I'm telling you, Piers, you're probably going to make a lot of money out of it. Your talk show's probably going to do really, really well. But I think the way it's been dealt with is poor. And the interview may well be... I'm very interested to watch the interview. I mean, it's been done. I'm not going to say I'm not watching it. I'm very interested to watch the interview. But I think the way it's been fed out, the timing, and the... I suppose... I'm going to predict this. It doesn't seem like there's any comeback. And Samuel Lucas made a good point. Manchester United are not happy and refute what Ronaldo said, that they weren't compassionate about him not going on tour because of the illness of his daughter. They refute that and say that that's not the case and it's unfair. Samuel Lucas goes on to say that actually there was a story around the time about how George Mendes and Ronaldo were saying how, let me just get the words right, how Richard Arnold had been in touch with him with the human touch. So, there's contradictions in there. And this is the problem. If we had watched this interview tonight and Ronaldo's just saying stuff and Piers Morgan's not done his homework and doesn't come back at him, and he clearly hasn't done his homework because he thought we were losing to Spurs when Ronaldo didn't come on. So I hope that there is some comeback. A good interview is when the interviewee doesn't just go, buy my latest book, I'm doing this for charity, oh yeah, I'm happily married. All that stuff is just pro. A proper interview should be, well, you did say this, you did do that, and I don't think we're going to get any of that. I think it's going to be very one-sided. And therefore, can you class it as an interview when it's just basically one side? That's the job of a good interviewer you can never have both sides, but the job of a good interview is to do their research, do their homework, and actually probe and, contradict and, have a bit of a battle, really. I don't think we'll see that. Love the man, but let him go, says Tony. So look, we're all ready for this tonight. We will be live at 9 o'clock straight after the interview. I'll have loads of notes and thoughts, and we'll go through it for that. But let's go into some of the stuff that's going on before that. ESPN, Rob Dawson, been on the show in the past. He's saying that Ten Hag can't work with Ronaldo anymore. Players don't expect Ronaldo back in January either. Samuel Luckhurst has said that senior sources close to players have said that the majority think he should never play again. I mean, I would just say about that, since when do we really give a shit about the dressing room of Manchester United and their opinion? I think everyone will care about it at the moment because it's probably what you think. But there's players in that dressing room I wish weren't playing for Man United again as well. So their opinion, I'd rather know the names of those players rather than just go, ooh, because it could be. I mean, it could be bloody Phil Jones who doesn't think Ronaldo should play again. You know what I mean? There needs to be context to that, and this is the problem. Looker saying sources close to players in the dressing room, the majority don't want Ronaldo there anymore. Well, who are the players who don't want him there anymore? Because there will be players there that still are loyal to Ronaldo, and you can sort of guess who they are. But I completely agree that he's got to go, and ultimately he wants to go. But there was an interesting thing as well, that friction between Bruno and Ronaldo is there, sources close to some senior players say. So people are leaking that stuff out as well. And we knew this was going to happen. And I cannot, and I don't think any of you can, come back and say, well, people shouldn't be leaking stuff out. Cristiano Ronaldo's done a public interview, basically, putting stuff out there. So I think that the WhatsApp groups of these journalists who've got, players in that dressing room that we know, obviously from last year, I think they'll be very, very hot at the moment. And those players will be chucking in in fact, I know for a fact that those players are chucking stuff out there more than they ever have. So much out there that is being sat on as well. In fact, somebody told me a couple of days ago, I've had so much information from that dressing room over the last couple of days. It's like being back in January again when Ranić was here, because you can't move for stories, but most people are sitting on them at the moment because they don't know what Ronaldo said. And somebody actually said to me that there is a player in that dressing room who was very concerned about what might be in this interview tonight and has already preloaded what he wants out there about Ronaldo if there's anything about him. So you got to think about this. I mean, people think we're just going to land an interview tonight and then it's going to be, part 2 tomorrow. But United players know that they might be mentioned in that interview, and they're ready themselves to chuck stuff back through their sources. So it could, who knows? What do I want from the interview? I don't really want Ten Hag mentioned. I don't really want players mentioned. I'd love it just to be completely and utterly, hard-hitting analysis and inside information of how what Manchester United's run like by the Glazers. I mean, I think we'd all love that. Unfortunately, I think we will get quite a bit on Ten Hag, and I don't know. I mean, look, somebody just said there, Maguire and Rashford. I'm not here to name those players, and to be honest with you, you can make your own minds up about that if and when it happens. But if I was in the Man United dressing room as a player, I would be very, very ready for being mentioned in the interview and I'd be very ready to respond for anything I knew. Because I guarantee some of those players know stuff as well. It's not like, obviously there's a lot been going on behind the scenes, so it could get messy, and United have got a huge job on to try and keep a lid on all of that. But Manchester United's stance is to just wait and see what happens. Mitchell, welcome to the members club. Off centre, but I want Shea Adams. Feel he could do a job for United, says Connor. Seen the United stand video and worked it out. Mark is banning chairs, and when he tells the haters to sit down, a guy Neville Mask says we are the United stand, says Glenn. And this is about to become a massive shit show at United, says David. And welcome to the members club, Corey. Well, of course, the big problem is, and again, I spoke to quite a few people over the last couple of days. Yesterday was a very busy day. Somebody within Man United told me that the problem that they've got is the World Cup. They've got so many players who aren't under their control. I mean, they are employees, but so many players are at the World Cup. And the World Cup is a boring time. I don't know whether you've seen England. They've got like an Xbox room, haven't they? Players have got more time than they ever have because they're on they're at a World Cup. So when they're not training, they're all together. When they're not training for Man United, they're at home with their family and they're doing golf and everything like that. They've got a lot of spare time and they're all over the place. And the concern is that while they've got that spare time, they are going to be hit up by the journalists that they've got relationships with, and they'll be throwing stuff back. And normally that'd be boring stuff about, Harry Kane's got a bit of a sore hamstring, might not make the USA game. But this time it's going to be all about Ronaldo. So United are concerned about that because they can't really keep a lid on thing. I mean, they can't anyway, but it's on a much bigger scale now. British media doing British things as usual. Worldwide fans support Ronaldo. We still play counter-attacking football. No progress and excuses, says Ishan. I don't think you speak for everybody, Ishan, but it's nice that you speak for yourself. And hi, Mark. Wouldn't it be better for journalists and players to wait for the interview to wait rather than speak now? They could be right, but it's not right. No, that's exactly what they are doing, Sean. What I'm saying is, the journalist I spoke to on Tuesday said to me, they've never had so much information out of Man United dressing room since January and the Ranić problems. But that information is very much wait and see until what happens on tonight and Thursday. So they've got the info, but they won't put it out there because they'll ruin their relationships with those players. But they've been preloaded that you can put that out there if he says this. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I don't think Cristiano Ronaldo will care if he says something about player A in that dressing room tonight, and then player A leaks something about Ronaldo for tomorrow. Ronaldo doesn't care. He can't be damaged any more than he is, in the sense that he doesn't expect to play for Man United again, so he doesn't really care. And in some ways, and I don't know whether this will be the angle, if you're Ronaldo and you're doing this interview and you say something about someone in that dressing room and then they respond by leaking stuff about you and it just gets even more messy, it makes to be blunt, I'm trying to think of a player who I like. Look, I love Rafael Varane, and it won't be Rafael Varane, but imagine if Ronaldo said something about Varane and then Varane leaked something about Ronaldo and it gets really messy. That actually makes it even more likely that Ronaldo will get sold because of the mess in the dressing room. So maybe we should be prepared for that, because actually his end game is to get sold by the club. The more mud that is thrown at people in that club, the more impossible it becomes for him to go back to that club. So I'd be very surprised if it's just a very timid interview. I'm expecting a lot of things, but I might be completely wrong. This is Ronaldo's defence and story. Nothing wrong there, says International. And do you think Ronaldo is taking that poem, "Do not go gentle into that good night," a bit too seriously, says Stoneoff. And Ronaldo has destroyed this club, ruined Rashford, Cavani and Martial. He's also turned the locker room and fan base versus Ralph and Ollie. Mark backed this man, says Obsessed Strike. He's back again. I warned you last night, mates, and I'm afraid you failed the test, haven't you? So we won't be hearing from you ever again. Apologies about reading that twat out. I don't mind people challenging me, but I won't be lied about. I did. One, Ronaldo didn't turn the dressing room against Solskjaer. He stood by Solskjaer. And two, I didn't. I stayed with Solskjaer very, very late as well. So, sometimes we will get idiots in the chat. I will forget this if I don't mention it. Victor Osimhen, I know Adam spoke about it this morning. Very surprised by this story because it was coming from the Mirror. I think it's Disco Mirror on Twitter, who's normally quite good and was miles off with this story. So basically, there's this story come out that Manchester United are lining up a 60 million deal for Victor Osimhen in January, and Napoli are prepared for it. It's the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard. If you know your onions, then you know this is not going to happen, and it's just going to end in tears, because Victor Osimhen cost Napoli about 70 million quid 18 months ago, and he's been a rip-roaring success in Serie A. So his price has gone up, not down. On top of that, Napoli are top of Serie A and very exciting in the Champions League. And on top of that, it's Napoli who don't sell players on the cheap and won't sell in January. So if we want Osimhen, it will be in the summer and it will be over 100 million quid. The fact that there's a story there that we could buy him in January for 60 is absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. So I just wanted to say my part on that, because it's nonsense. You may as well say we're going to buy Harry Kane for 50 million in January, because there's about the same chance as getting Osimhen. It's a no-starter. We need Ronaldo. We don't get a striker in January, says Tom. Mark, I think I have Avram Glazer. information, says Mikael Roach. And Brody, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, just wanted to say thanks for putting out all this content for us over the years. You've made it exciting to follow the game from outside the UK. Hopefully tomorrow isn't a goodbye, but if it is, cheers to everything and best of luck. Thank you very much, Brody. That really was a nice message. Does Piers Morgan belong in the bin, says Julian? I mean, look. I think people sometimes get confused when I challenge things. I don't dislike Jamie Carragher or Gary Neville or Piers Morgan or anything like that, but I think sometimes they need pulling up for, bad opinions, as I get pulled up for. You can see that Piers Morgan is absolutely loving it. He's loving it. He's tweeting about how he's trending at number 3 and Ronaldo's at number 1. He's retweeting his, when Ronaldo said, you've got good abs. I mean, he's just like a big fanboy, isn't he? Ronaldo's chosen me to do this interview. Unfortunately, I think Ronaldo's trusted the wrong person, because Piers Morgan, on a very basic level, and you're not right on what I'm about to say here. On a very basic level, there's loads of things you could say. But on a very basic level, Piers Morgan's understanding of football is crap. It really is terrible. And you know why it's crap? Because he went against the club that he supports, Arsenal, on social media for ages, saying getting rid of Aubameyang is a disgrace. Arteta's a disgrace. Basically trying to force a movement that Arteta needed to go because he'd binned off Aubameyang. And he supports Arsenal. And as a non-supporting Arsenal fan, like many of you, I could easily see that Arteta was doing a good job and Aubameyang needed to go because he was toxic. But not in Piers' world. I mean, that's just one example of many of how his football analysis is abysmal. And Cristiano Ronaldo has decided, as one of United's biggest ever legends, to trust somebody with a crap football opinion and an Arsenal fan to map him through an interview and a big week. It's a massive error of judgment. Now, Jordan, who's on our channel, he messaged me today and he said, I think the reason he's chosen Piers Morgan is because of the American market. Because Jordan, who's a DJ on the channel quite a lot, you might know who he is. He's been in America this week, and he says I was in New York, in Times Square, and all the billboards were Ronaldo and Piers Morgan. So it's a big story in America. And maybe that's why he's gone for Piers Morgan, because if you go with the Sunday Times or something like that, or a British journalist or whatever, they're not going to have the appeal in America. And if you get the American market, it goes even bigger. So Jordan's theory is that the reason Piers Morgan was chosen, not because he's a hard-hitting journalist, but because it's just about reach, because that's what it's all about. But you know what? I think Ronaldo's bigger than that. I think he's a GOAT of the game, and I think I'll keep saying it, I think he's better than this level of an interview. I think he's far better. This is a bloody fucking, I'm trying to think of what level I think it's a Donald Trump interview. I just think Ronaldo is better than that, much better than that. But look, it is what it is, and we'll see the interview later. And look, fair play to Piers. He's absolutely raking it in, isn't he? Absolutely, who wouldn't take that opportunity is what I'm trying to say. But I just think it's, I've had my say on it. I'm going to have a good few drinks tonight at 8 mark. Still can't believe we've been put in this situation, says Dale. Anyway, the day's finally here. It will be revealed tonight, finally, says Dale. We love you, Mark. Hope you won't leave us, but if you do, then we wish you all the best, says Show. Thank you very much. Remember, our 8 o'clock show tonight has been moved back to 9 o'clock. The next 2 nights will basically be, like when we do the press conference reaction for Eric Ten Hag. So basically, I'm going to watch the interview, take the notes, and then we'll go through it together like we always do. Jack says, did you see some very small English clubs said they would buy Ronaldo for a pie and a pint of Guinness? We are being bantered by everyone. Oh, Jack, you know what? I know that some people think those things are funny. I wouldn't wipe my arse with those stories. I was driving up to Manchester yesterday, and there was a story about a club that had offered to take Erling Haaland on loan. And then, lo and behold, I think Erling Haaland went and had a picture taken with them. And then now you've got it, we'll take Ronaldo for a pint of Guinness. And I think it's meant to be funny. Oh, look at this little club having a bit of banter. The thing is, it wasn't funny 30 years ago when somebody did it. And it always happens. So, I don't find it funny at all. If you think Ronaldo is bigger than United, you're delusional, says Joash. I'm just trying to just make sure I cover everything here. But yeah, in effect, it's a battle of not who. It's not fair. Obviously, Ronaldo's interview is very much I've been disrespected. It's not fair. But United are starting to trickle stuff out that they don't think it's fair what Ronaldo said about them. One of the big sticking points, it seems, because it's come from senior officials at Manchester United, is that they refute that they were not compassionate about Cristiano Ronaldo missing pre-season because of his daughter being ill. Obviously, Ronaldo has said that he felt that there wasn't compassion there. United are saying that that's not the case. They were compassionate. I mean, and that's the crux, isn't it? On any issue, you know, if Ten Hag says I haven't disrespected him, I gave him the captaincy. He was punished quite rightly for walking off the pitch against Spurs, but he came back and he was the captain. I haven't disrespected him. And then Ronaldo says, you have disrespected me. I couldn't even go in the dressing room when I was suspended, and you know, I'm not happy about it. Well, at the end of the day, who's right and who's wrong? It doesn't matter, does it? Because actually the story's out there publicly and it makes Ronaldo's position untenable. I think, and I've not really heard anybody say it like this yet, I personally think this interview, every interview, has a reason. Sometimes people do interviews. Have you ever watched like the Graham Norton show, or I don't know whether Jonathan Ross does it anymore, but this time of year, they start getting good guests. You know why they get good guests? Because they've got to get those guests have got a book out, or a new album out, or they've got a new film out. As a kid, I used to watch things like Parkinson, and you get like Harrison Ford on, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Harrison Ford's doing an interview with Parkinson. And I'd completely missed the thing because I'd be interested in talking about, you know, Indiana Jones or Star Wars or something like that. But obviously, at some point, Parky would go, you've got a new film out, haven't you? Tell us about that. And that's why they're doing the interview. They're doing a tour of interviews. Every interview has got a reason for it. No one just goes, yeah, I'm just going to do an interview. You know, even Ten Hag, you know, having an interview ahead of a Liverpool game. You know, there's always a reason for an interview. It's very rare someone just goes, can I do an interview? You know, it doesn't normally happen. So what's the reason for the Ronaldo interview? And I think that the reason for the Ronaldo interview is very, very easy. He's obviously got in contact with Piers Morgan and said, I want to do this interview, this reveal, because and ultimately, I'm completely predicting this. I think the reason for this interview is because Ronaldo is very pissed off that he's still a Man United player. He wants to leave, and basically he wants to just absolutely make it impossible for himself to ever play for Man United again. In which case, the Glazers, Ten Hag, the facilities, the pizzas, you know, and what we haven't had yet is ex-players. Will we get current players? I mean, I'd be surprised if we don't, because I think if the aim of the interview is to make sure you never play for Man United again, then you've got to make sure that nobody in that football club wants you there anymore. And you've got to therefore go in on all of them. You've got to break the dressing room code. You've got to, you know, break your contract code. You've got to make the manager not like you anymore. So I think when you have that mindset that whenever this interview was planned out, what do you want out of this interview, Cristiano? I want to leave Manchester United. Right, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to do. And you've got to bring the human angle in, because we want people to feel sorry for you as well. And I'm not talking about the death of his child or the illness of his child. I mean, those things are just horrible, and I don't think it should be forgotten that Cristiano Ronaldo came back and played for Man United a few days after the loss of his child. But what I mean about the sorry, we've got to make people feel sorry for you, is you've got to give, it can't just be, I don't like Ten Hag, I don't like this player, I don't like that player. You've also got to do it in a way where you burn your bridges, but you make the public go, well, I can sort of see why. Obviously, the Glazers conversation is going to make people go, oh, well, fair play to him. You know, I was disrespected. You know, some people will go, yeah, he was disrespected. So I think that this interview, like any interview, has been planned out. And I think that the end game is to just make it impossible to go to Manchester United. There will be, obviously, a conversation that there's going to be some fallout from this. But ultimately, we will try and limit that fallout by throwing things into this interview that make you look good. And you can make yourself look very good by going in on the Glazers, because, you know, everyone knows that's true and no one's ever done that as a player before. We can talk about, you know, how you feel you've been disrespected and this, because you do. I think when you look at this interview and just go, the whole point of it is to make sure that he never plays for Man United again, that leaves it very, very interesting to what else could be in this interview tonight. And that's what interests me. I already know he says that he disrespects Ronaldo, Ten Hag. We already know he's gone in on the Glazers. Is it just crap, or is there a load more information in there? I respect Ronaldo as a legend, but any player in general, if it's not happy with the club, United should let them go, and thanks for exposing the Glazers, says Mohit. The one thing that pisses me off with this situation is the unwanted hate Lindelof is getting for not saying anything, for Rashford saying the team fights together, and for Bruno's greeting with Ronaldo, all from this Ronaldo, says Kelly James. At this point, is it just, he said he should, kind of situation and no one wins, time for a divorce and save the beautiful memories, says Uriam. Yeah, look, we're living live here. You know, this is a live moment, of course. We're dealing with this as it happens. So even I can't predict how I will feel about Ronaldo in the future. But nobody you know, it is like a marriage, and it's like a happy marriage. And when it ends, do you want to write off? It's like anything in life. You know, if you have a friend that you've been friend with since you were like 8 years of age, and, you know, really good friends for 30 years, and then you have a big fallout at 38 and you just can't ever move past it. You might never be friends again, but do you ignore the 30 years of friendship? I'm not the sort of person who does that. Some people stubbornly would go, brain wipe, I'm not going to remember when we used to play Army in the woods. Other people were playing with them, a bit odd on their own. Or, you know, when we used to be down the park playing football till it got dark. You know, I wouldn't forget all that stuff just because we fell out when we were older. So with Cristiano Ronaldo, whatever happens tonight and tomorrow night, and whatever happens in the future, and no matter how toxic it gets, I'll never not enjoy and forget and not be able to go back to, you know, the late noughties when he was just untouchable. But I sort of had made my peace with Ronaldo anyway, because I never liked the fact that he wanted to go to Real Madrid. I felt that was a betrayal. And that was hard to come to terms. There's many players that have left United. I hated it when Beckham went. I didn't really, you know, Van Nistelrooy, Stam, Roy Keane, really, I didn't want that to happen. You know, there's 2 or 3 players that when they left, it was just really, really difficult. And Ronaldo was right up there. When Ronaldo left, I was gutted. I was in Cornwall. Not because he'd left, I was on holiday. And I got a message from a mate saying he's gone. And I was like, I can't believe it. Even though he'd hinted at it all the time, he'd been at it for about a year and a half. I was gutted when Ronaldo went. And then he's scoring goals for Real Madrid, and it's like Real Madrid's player, isn't it? But so, I you know, the detachment with Ronaldo started when he left the first time. But I've never stopped following his career, and I've never forgotten what he did for us. But he did turn his back on us to go to Real Madrid. He valued Real Madrid more than us. He wanted to leave us to go to Real Madrid. Real Madrid was his dream club. Man United's not his dream club. You know, anyone who thinks that, maybe he's changed, but I think he always loved Manchester United and still does. But he did leave us to go to Real Madrid. But I never forgot because of that. I never thought, well, I'm not interested in Ronaldo. It's just one of those things that happens. So it's never going to change my legacy for him, because I was so disappointed when he went to Real Madrid. So does this interview impact as much as losing the world's greatest player to Real Madrid? It doesn't. This interview is just pantomime for me. It's pantomime. It's a means to an end to get out of the club. It was a lot worse when he went to Real Madrid, because that's like, we brought you as a kid, we've nurtured you, we've made you win the Ballon d'Or, the Champions League, Premier Leagues, and you're leaving us to go to Real Madrid. That means you love Real Madrid more than us. That was hard. That was hard. And so no, it will not impact on the legacy of what Cristiano Ronaldo is. He's the greatest player. I've always preferred him to Messi. I don't want to start that argument because I think Messi's fantastic. But I just think Ronaldo had to work harder for his career, because Messi's a God-given talent. I love Ronaldo. He's a GOAT of the game. And that will never change. But it is very sad, and I think Ten Hag's right if he is saying that. It's not something, I'm not angry. I'm just very sad about this. And I do believe that the way that this interview has been conducted is a bad idea. But ultimately, if you interpret it as what the end game is, it doesn't matter how tacky the interview is. It doesn't matter how, drip-fed it is or sensationalist it is. If the end game is to get out of Man United, it's a success. They could have released it over 10 nights with, little clips every. As long as he's out of Man United, it'll be a high five with Piers. Thank you very much. But I think it could have been done better. I respect Ronaldo as a legend, but any player in general, if he's not happy with the club, United should let them go. That was from Mohit. We've read that one before. Sorry about that. Also, hi Mark, do you see any possibility of United going after someone like Ivan Toney or Jonathan David? I think they are possible, Mitchell, in January. Quick thoughts on Anthony saving himself for the World Cup. 100 million and he chooses Brazil over United. Grealish would have been slated, says Connor. But we don't know the full detail of that. But I'll guarantee you now, you're an idiot if you think that Anthony prefers Man United over Brazil. Martinez prefers Argentina over Man United. South American players, and to be fair, some European countries and other continent countries, they do prefer playing for their club over their country. I would argue that Harry Maguire probably prefers playing for England over Man United. I don't like that. I prefer Man United over England every day of the week. But the problem is the World Cup. It's not, if Anthony's got a bit of a knock and he doesn't want to play against Fulham because he wants to be fit for the World Cup for Brazil, whose fault is that? Is that Anthony who prefers playing for his country over Man United, which we all know anyway, or is it the fact that the bloody World Cup is so close to the end, to smack in the middle of the Premier League? That's the problem. Sorry to do this midstream, but I can only do this once, and I don't know if you're leaving. Thank you so much. I love the content, and go on. I'm a celeb, says Josh. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those super chats. Don't forget, I'm live at 3:00 on Twitch with my Football Manager career. If you like Football Manager, I've got 2 free codes to give away this afternoon at 3:00. So just a reminder that I will be on Twitch at 3:00, and tonight is episode 1 of the 2-part interview, Cristiano Ronaldo and Piers Morgan. It is released at 8:00 tonight. Don't worry, straight afterwards, 9:00 show tonight on the United Stand. We will be dissecting it together and going through all those comments together. So get ready for a very interactive and passionate show. We'll wait and see. As an American, it was nice seeing... I don't know what that is, Sean O'Rourke. Thank you very much for the super chat. Anyway, I will see you on Twitch at 3:00 if you're going to be there. Alternatively, remember, 9:00 tonight, we'll be reacting to part 1 of who knows what we're going to get. But ultimately, when you think about it, what are you expecting? This interview is to get out of Man United. To get out of Man United, you've got to burn all your bridges. Very interesting to see what's going to happen. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you later.